Master educator Dr. Ron Wolfson shares the following story. He says that he lives in a charming suburban neighborhood, but one very close to a freeway on-ramp. And so cars drive up and down the street at an absurdly high speed. And because there's so many children in the neighborhood, which is a plus, signs are posted everywhere. You can imagine, school zone, danger, children crossing. But sadly, as he writes, as it is in Los Angeles, these signs are mostly ignored. However, one day he explains 2 huge trucks arrived on his street and they began to install speed bumps. And Dr. Wolfson noticed the cars and the people, they didn't have a choice. They were forced to slow down. Block by block, speed bump by speed bump, Dr. Wolfson couldn't help but wonder what kind of damage the bumps were doing to his car. But as a Jewish educator, he realized how vital speed bumps are to the nourishment of the soul. You see, he says, and he reminds us that our tradition teaches that we are meant to say 100 blessings every day. Yes, to thank God for the wonders of this world, but perhaps, as he suggests, like speed bumps on a busy road, those blessings are there meant to slow us down, to help us appreciate life and to help us appreciate one another. And while I personally recognize the value of saying those blessings, I'm realizing that when we speak about the concept of time, it's somewhat distorted. Because we can heighten our appreciation, we can deepen our gratitude, but time itself, that isn't actually something that we can slow down. When any of us decide to acquire a new hobby, learn a new language, increase our visits with family and friends, we tend to use a familiar phrase. We say to ourselves, I need to take more time to do X, Y, or Z. This year, this month, this time, I'm going to take more time to accomplish what it is I need to do in my life. But today, this morning, I want to suggest something different, something quite different. Because as we all know, the seconds on the clock pass by, whether or not we decide to take time in our hands. Time is not our possession. Even with those speed bumps, they slow down the car, but they can't decelerate the clock. And how we wish we could. So many of us would gift loved ones more minutes, more hours, more months, more years. What a superpower that would be. In fact, it was the question we asked at our Seder this year. We said, if you had the opportunity to take in your hands just one more hour with someone you cherish, who would it be? What would you say? And I saw tears flowing around our home as guests thought about the time that they wished they had, the time that they wished they could gift to someone else. And then again, sometimes we think the opposite. If only we could shave off hours of pain from those that endure hatred and bullying and negligence, depression, sorrow, and grief. Now that would be, to shave off those minutes and hours of pain, that would be an unbelievable feat. But all of you know as well as I do, we can't take time. We can't take time for the keeping or the shaving off or the gifting. As William Penn put it, time is what we want most and what we use worst. And so this morning, I'm asking us to consider a different concept. If we can't take time, perhaps we can mark time. Now, this isn't my idea. Just look at the structure of the Jewish calendar in which we grasp the endless hours of a blurred ticking clock And we continuously choose to infuse moments with purpose and healing and rest, if you will, Jewish speed bumps. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy, says our Torah. I remember when I thought I was going into labor with our first child, Annie. I can't believe, 10 years ago. Rabbi Sherman and I raced down Wilshire to UCLA, only to be sent home. We were sent home many times. I thought I was going into labor many times. That's when I learned that term, false labor. But when we drove back, it was right about this time. It was a Saturday, right about 11:15 a.m., and I couldn't help but notice all the traffic on Wilshire Boulevard. There was this odd line from Beverly Glen around Ashton, and I said to Rabbi Sherman, I wonder where all those cars are going. And he laughed at me and said, Nicole, remember, it's not just Saturday, it's Shabbat. All those cars, all those people, those are our people. They're going to Sinai. And I remember smiling back thinking, oh, those people, our people. All of us here this morning, we make a choice to wake up on Saturday morning and mark this moment, as Rabbi Goldstein said so eloquently earlier this morning. We choose to make moments as holy. Saturday will come and go. We have nothing to do with the rising and setting of the sun. But whether we choose to bring Shabbat in our lives, whether we choose to mark this moment, whether we choose to let God in and take stock of our blessings, that's entirely up to us. The great theologian, Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, teaches the higher goal of spiritual living is not to amass a wealth of information, but to face sacred moments. God is not things of space, but in moments of time. So the question still remains, are we willing to mark the sacred moments, or will we merely let time pass us by? We're in the middle of counting the Omer referenced in the Torah reading this morning, a time in which we count 7 weeks from the second night of Pesach to Shavuot, in which we celebrate the receiving of the Torah. 7 ordinary weeks that are meant to teach us that if we choose, time can be anything but ordinary. When we choose to mark time, that's when time can be extraordinary. So how do we transform the meaningless into the meaningful? You all can give me examples, but we know it's small, poignant steps. As Friday afternoon melds into Friday evening, choose to light Shabbat candles. Usher holiness into your home. Instead of gathering for Friday night dinner, gather for Shabbat dinner. Pause to breathe out the chaos of the week and bring in the sacredness of rest. We all know a child has a birthday and turns 13 overnight, but a child can have a bar mitzvah, just like Sasha did today, and mark the moment in which they become a committed member of the Jewish people. We mourn the death of a loved one, and we choose to mark the sacredness of their lives by standing to say Kaddish, to share stories during Shiva, and to honor their memory during a yahrzeit. Spiritual speed bumps, not really meant to slow down time, but rather meant to transform life. As Heschel teaches, unlike the space-minded man to whom time is unvaried, iterative, homogeneous, to whom all hours are alike, qualityless, empty shells, the Bible senses the diversified character of time. There are no 2 hours alike. Every hour is unique and only one given at the moment, exclusive and endlessly precious. In other words, don't be afraid to add some Jewish speed bumps into your life. We all know that life can be messy and exhausting and frustrating, infuriating, but if we let it, life can also be beautiful, inspiring, wondrous, and magical. Time isn't ours for the taking, but time is certainly ours for the marking. May the treasured time we have, the priceless time we have, be marked with holiness, with sanctity, with meaning. We all know that time will never slow down, but with just a little help, we might be able to slow down just enough to realize how precious time is. Shabbat Shalom.